Okay, so today we're going to talk about liberal ideologies and how they're destroying masculinity in America. But this is very important because we are going to be up against an authoritarianism like we've never seen before inside of this country, and we need masculine men to fight it. Liberal ideologies are destroying that masculinity, thus making it harder for us to, resist in the public sphere. And in a lot of cases, we're taking men and we're just denigrating them. We're making them take a knee to these strange ideologies, and it's very, very important for the future of our country. We're going to cover that, plus a couple of the headlines from the news. It's going to be a good one. I'm Jared, and this is Continue Freedom. And welcome back to Continue Freedom. If this is your first time here, welcome. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave comments below. We're on X, Locals, Rumble, and YouTube. Go to continuefreedom.com, sign up for my mailing list. It'll help me out in the future when YouTube ultimately decides to cancel me because I'm putting out conservative content. Woo, boogeyman. Boogeyman, boogeyman. That's apparently what we conservatives are. So let's start by talking about some authoritarianism. The authoritarianism that we will be fighting inside of America. This just happens to take place in Canada. But this is an instance where a guy was walking down the street and he was wanting to talk to I believe it was the deputy prime minister. So it's like any reporter. He sees him on the street and goes over and starts asking questions. Let's watch this.
IRGC is not a terrorist group. Why is your government supporting Islamo-nationalism?
Guy steps in front of him. Bumps him.
Why are you pushing me? You're under arrest for assault. You're under arrest for assault.
Look at this.
Police, you're under arrest for assault. How am I under arrest? You bumped into me. You pushed into me. I was just scrubbing. I got my credentials here, and you just bumped in.
If you say it with a kind voice, doesn't make it any less evil. So this guy, you can watch him. It's clear as day. The guy steps in front of him. He's just walking. Watch him. He takes a step to the side. Bumps into him. There you go. Assault. They actually hauled this guy away. Canada, by the way, what is going on up in your country? But this is the type of authoritarianism we will see in America. Hands down, no questions asked. This is kind of a byproduct of liberal policies, of the communist policies that we see coming out of the Democrat Party. And this guy was hauled away to prison for that simple little altercation. A guy steps in front of him, a police officer, and then says, now I'm going to arrest you. It's on camera. We'll see if it goes anywhere. But nonetheless, this man right here is a little authoritarianism. He's a little angry man with some kind of a God complex, and he leverages what little power that he has over somebody that he doesn't like because he's a good, faithful soldier of the political movement. And that's what they do. And there will be people who say, no, I saw it. Yeah, he did. Other little faithful soldiers, right? Well, that's the type of authoritarianism we can expect in America and that we have, in a lot of cases, have seen. We saw it at January 6th. Now, that's one that's kind of in dispute, right? The left I think, legitimately believes that was some type of an insurrection. We obviously don't think that it was. But nonetheless, we know that they will put people in prison for political reasons for 2.5 years without trial or without charge. We know that they will take people who weren't even there and put them in prison for 2 decades. And as we saw recently in a news report, there was a gentleman that came out. I think he was with the FBI. He might have been with Capitol Police. But he said, now we're going to start looking at the people who were just in a restricted area, which meant on the Capitol grounds. So you didn't even have to go inside. They're going to start geotagging people and geolocating people and find out pinging their cell phones and figure out where they were. And if they were anywhere near the Capitol, they're going to start throwing them in prison or giving them charges. And this is all an effort for weak-minded little people to try to leverage what little power that they do have in order to ruin political opponents. But this is not a masculine way to deal with the problem. This is a scared little authoritarian's way to deal with the problem. But things like this are going to be seen here in America in numbers. January 6th was nothing compared to what we're going to see, especially if the Democrats get into office in 2024. This current trend is going to continue, and our problems are going to continue to get worse. And, authoritarianism is we can look no further than John Kerry in the climate crisis, as he likes to call it, to find out the ways that they're willing to exercise authoritarianism. Here's John Kerry at the Signet Library. I forget what type of event he was at. But he goes on to make this long speech. I'm not going to play all 2.5 minutes, but that long speech was him talking about extremism and talking about, conservatives, by the way, denying the science and all of these things. When they accuse us of something, it is something that they themselves are exercising. That's normally how it goes. But what is, in John Kerry's opinion, the ultimate problem of humanity? Let's listen.
Promising to do more of exactly what created this crisis in the first place. So now, humanity is inexorably threatened by humanity itself.
So we have to, fix this humanity problem, because humanity is the problem. It's the reason that we can't get all the authority that we want. It's the reason that we can't get all the regulations that we want. It's the reason we don't have people eating bugs yet or driving electric cars or any of those things. So how are we going to fix the humanity problem? Mark my words, aside from the that are already making people drop all across the country, there's going to be another pandemic. There's going to be something even worse. They're going to continue to push that threshold, because even meek and mild, soft-voiced people like Jane Goodall believe that billions of people should be wiped off the face of the earth. This is people worshiping the creation rather than the creator, if you want to look at it from a big biblical perspective. But people worship the earth. This is their God. When people say, oh, I'm an atheist, the planet did this and the planet did that, they are still worshiping something. They are worshiping the planet as opposed to worshiping a God or God. The planet is their God. And they will go to great lengths to preserve that religion, to protect their religion of climate science. This is what we're up against, and this is why we need masculine men to stand up for us, to fight these fights. If you want to look at where Democrats stand, this is another example of a great example of authoritarianism inside of the Democrat Party. Find the unvaccinated. Democrats are the blue. The first one is find the unvaccinated, lock the unvaccinated in their homes, send unvaccinated to quarantine camps, take children from unvaccinated parents, and fine and imprison critics of the vaccine. This is the Democrat Party. This is the authoritarianism that we're up against. If you think that it's not coming to this country, this was in 2022. It's already here. The people that will institute these things are already here. But I don't believe that is, of the people that they poll. Pollsters, people like Frank Luntz, which I'm going to show a video clip of here in a moment. I don't necessarily know that I buy into all that, but it is a jarring statistic. It's a very jarring statistic. And so we have one masculine man who may be able to take this ship and steer it in the right direction, and that's Donald Trump. But there's a lot of people trying to keep him out. That, obviously the establishment, which is going for Nikki Haley and I guess Joe Biden, but they're kind of hedging all their bets on Nikki Haley. Larry Fink and all these people are giving her boatloads of money. So's the guy Reid Hoffman, the guy from LinkedIn. I think he's been donating a ton of money to Nikki Haley. Well, what do they think is going to happen? Do they think that all this money is going to pay off? Here's Frank Luntz, who, by the way, just a few days ago was coming out of Nikki Haley's campaign headquarters. Why? Not from her headquarters, from one of her events. Why he was there? Your guess is as good as mine. But here's his take on the next election.
If you had to bet $150,000 on who's going to win in November, who would you bet on?
I never dreamed that I would say this, but I would bet on Trump.
I'd bet on Trump.
I thought it was done. I thought it was over. You don't come back from an impeachment.
You don't come back from an impeachment.
From January 6th. You don't come back from any of this. But he's come back.
And he looks so defeated. So he says you don't come back from an impeachment. You don't come back from January 6th. But he has. He's come back. And that's a masculine guy who could actually lead our country and take us in the right direction. But we need more than him. We need society as a whole to add a little masculinity to things. And, we can look at really the feminist movement as the culprit behind a lot of this. The feminist movement, when it was started, you could say that it really, you want to take it all the way back to suffrage, right? You could say that the motives were pure. And even during the women's suffrage movement, there were a lot of women that didn't want to get the right to vote. which is kind of where this all started. It was women saying that, we can perform just as well as men, or that we should have equal rights as men. Got it. Yeah, that's fine. But there were a lot of women that didn't want the right to vote simply because they didn't want to have to go fight a war. That's part of the men, by the way. We all have to sign on the dotted line for selective service saying that, yes, I get my right to vote, but I can also be drafted when the next world war pops off. Women don't have that, and so that was a carve-out for them. And I watch this constantly on the internet. It pops into my feed, probably because I hovered over too many of them for too long. But things like the Whatever podcast, and if you've never seen it, it's very illuminating. But the Whatever podcast, it is a guy who will do these extremely long, lengthy interviews, live streams, I believe. And in those, generally speaking, he's asking women questions about relationships and questions about their work and all this stuff. And a lot of the women that are on there, they are in the pornography industry, they have OnlyFans, or they are just very promiscuous women, and they talk about relationships and all of these things. And this is what we've done, by the way, when it comes to pornography, when it comes to OnlyFans. This is our way of denigrating women, but we tell them, and I say we as a society have told them, that this is body positivity, this is you being independent, this is you doing what you want to do, when in reality, this is prostituting women on the internet and, men getting their rocks off to these women. And these women are putting themselves in such a compromising situation that they can't move their life from that world into the family life with any degree of success. And this is part of the feminist movement. This is where it kind of went off the rails and really took a turn to the left. But we are now denigrating women, but also part of the feminist movement is saying not only should men or women be equal to men, but men should be submissive and should be beneath women because women are a superior sex. This is constantly out there, right? Men are the enemy, especially white men. White men cause all the problems in the world. And so they attack men as opposed to saying we work alongside one another. They attack them. And men, as a result, have two options. We can either say, you know what? I'm going to bow on my knees before the altar of feminism and say, yes, men are terrible. Men are the reason for all the war in the world. Not that it's just human nature to war over things, but it's because I'm a man. It's really because I'm a white man. And so I'm going to find me a good liberal woman who's going to wear a vagina hat, and I'll wear a vagina hat with her, and we'll stand in the street, and we'll whoop and holler, and I'll tell everybody around me that my blue-haired wife with the nose ring is the one that should be running this country. And that's not the person that's going to be running this country. That's the person who becomes some angry, pissed off little authoritarianism inside of Congress. And they're able to wield some level of power over other people. So these are angry, bitter, terrible people with weak, spineless husbands. Or you have congressmen congressmen in the Democrat Party who support this and say, yes, we men are terrible. We're awful. We're the root of all evil. We're the root of all problems. And women say, yeah, that's right. And they say, we need more women, like Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell completely flipped the script on this one and said, oh, the world would be so much better if it was run by women. Meanwhile, we need you to fix our streets. We need you to keep our power on. We need you to build our buildings. We need you to, do all the heavy lifting. We need you to be the lineman. We need you to drill our oil. We need to do all the things that men do that women can't do to keep this entire country running, but all the while we're just going to vilify them. And so the option is men bow their knee or they go in the opposite direction. Now, there's technically three. I'll get to the final option, but most young men are responding that way. They're saying, I'm going to go the complete opposite direction. I'm never going to get married. Maybe I'll have kids, but if I do, it'll probably be by accident. And instead, I'm going to treat women like they are an object. And I'm never going to get connected to them. I'm never going to have a long-term relationship with them. So I'm essentially going to turn into a misogynist and a philanderer. And there's tons of people out there that live that type of lifestyle, and a lot of them get a great deal of play on the internet. In this instance, Justin Walling, I believe is his name, or maybe it's Wallen. Let me double check the name. Justin Wallen. I watched a lot of his stuff. I was reading about him, and the guy apparently has a family. Yeah, Justin Waller, Waller. And Justin Waller apparently has a family. He has kids, but he says, I will not commit myself to one woman. And this is the environment that that men should not find themselves in, because this is part of the liberal ideology, by the way. It's moving us towards the destruction of the nuclear family. We want to have kids that don't have fathers in the house. We want to have, these weird, awkward dynamics rather than a stable family structure. We want to destroy that. And I'll tell you in a minute the next step to it. But he's talking here with Lila Rose. And Lila Rose, if you don't know, is a great proponent, pro-life proponent, a very, very kind, calm, even keel woman who's doing some amazing stuff out there fighting for, fighting the anti-abortion fight. But listen to his conversation with her.
Fire away, honey.
Okay. If you have only one place in your heart for one woman, or you want to have one woman in your heart, I think you said, why don't you just commit to one and choose to be faithful to her?
I'm just not wired that way. I spent my whole 20s trying to fix myself. Thought something was wrong with me.
You're a man of self-control. You work out, you do business.
Yeah.
You can possess your own power and direct it the way you want to direct it.
It's just not how I am. It's not how I am.
You think that might be a limited mindset?
I think it's none of your business, but I don't want you to think I'm triggered by you. I'm not.
Okay.
I saw somebody say that, and I think that's interesting. I think you're annoying, but I'm not triggered. You know what I'm saying? No, you are. You're annoying in like this goody two-shoes type way, and that's fine. I'm going to live my life on my terms, unapologetically, like truly. So you can ask me this 85 different ways. At the end of the day, I'm going to walk out of here the same man.
And so he says, no, I'm not wired that way. And that is wrong. He can say that he's not wired that way, but we as human beings are wired to be with someone else, right? We are wired to, as men and women, to have families, to have that cohesive unit, and to go and procreate and to do all of those things. He's choosing not to because somewhere along the way he had heartbreak or he had some major issue that turned him completely off of having a long-term relationship, and it's to his detriment. But this is the other end of it. Sadly, it takes this guy was super successful in business. I mean, he's got a jet and Bentleys, right? That's great. But he's also setting an example for young men, saying that, yeah, this is what you need, but to do that, you shouldn't have some sort of a stable relationship. And the other option, again, are the people that are bowing their knee and praying at the altar of feminism. So what does all this mean? Well, this means that the restoration of masculinity in our country is in serious jeopardy, because the third option and the right option is for a man to, yes, be successful. Yes, go off and do great things. Yes, work very hard. But to have a family means that you are doing what is natural to human beings, first off. Second off, if you don't believe in the Bible, I'm sorry, but I'm going to mention the Bible. This is a biblical call for us to be fruitful and multiply, of course. But the relationship between man and woman is a very specific type of relationship. When we were out conquering the frontiers, it was the men that were standing between the women and the children and the Native Americans who were trying to kill them. It's the man who carried the rifle to kill the bears that wanted to eat the family. This is just the nature of the beast. Men are meant to be leaders. And our society has tried to tried to take that out of our psyche through our education system, through public discourse, through feminism, which is starting to move its way into it, not just where women stand in society, but where men's place in society should be. When in fact, if you want to go to the Bible, wives, submit to your own husband as to the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, his body, and is himself its Savior. People hate the word submit, but there's a very specific meaning behind this. It's not like, a woman being some, cowering creature, because it goes on to say that husbands love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, that he may sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of water with the word. In Genesis, which I swear I should have started, but then then the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helper fit for him. He wired us from the very beginning to have a woman in our life. Have you not read that he who created them from the beginning made them male and female, and said, by the way, male and female, there is no they, Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let no man separate. This is an inseparable bond that we are supposed to have with the other person. And what do we do instead? We tell women, we make it harder for them to get a relationship because we tell them, selling your body on OnlyFans, selling your body in the pornography industry. This is something you can do temporarily. You'll make a ton of money and it'll be great. You'll be a high-earning woman and make yourself attractive to other men, when in fact you do the opposite. So therefore they are preventing the growth of a strong family unit by trying to infect young women with this ideology. At the same time, they are telling men, go forth, be promiscuous. And in a lot of cases, other than the OnlyFans part, the men are out here having these promiscuous relationships, and then they can't find the woman that they're looking for. This is all one-night stands. This is all meaningless, ridiculous relationships that aren't doing anything to further them as a human being, and in fact, making them less marketable when they want to go and find a wife, or for women to find a husband. And all the while, we are creating this environment where men are told, if you want to hang out with the women, you have to believe, because the women are third-wave feminists and all of that, we have to say, men, submit to your wives because they are better than you, more than you. They are more pure than you. The world's problems are because of you. Everything would be better without you. Oh, and as I said before, fix the sink, fix the plumbing, pave the roads, build the house, do all of these things. And this bleeds over into our politics in a very significant way, because the weak men that are created out of this, a lot of them get into politics. And so they start injecting this stuff into the decisions that they're making in D.C. This is how you get male leftists. They say this is a caring thing, that the border, the southern border, everybody that's coming across, everybody is a victim of something. Everybody deserves to have a place. They deserve to be inside of America. We can't turn away. It's all women and children. That's the softer side of it. Instead, tough decisions have to be made, and weak men cannot make tough decisions. Masculine men can make those decisions, and strong-willed women can make those decisions. But weak men, emasculated men cannot, and weak, angry, leftist women cannot. The women do it out of spite. The leftist women do it out of spite. The leftist men do it out of weakness. And let me frame the enemy that we need masculine men to fight, if I could just talk. Some of us are fighting back against the evil forces that be, whether it's the World Economic Forum or the World Health Organization. All these groups are evil, infected organizations that are going to lead to the authoritarianism that I was referencing before. And in a lot of ways are the source of the authoritarianism that we have now. Our federal government is an authoritarian organization in a lot of ways, hence the January 6th trials and all of those things. But we as masculine people, masculine men, strong-willed women, we're fighting back because we're resisting that pressure to become sheep. The man who's wearing the vagina hat with his blue-haired wife and a nose ring, whooping and hollering and bowing down before her, that is the weak man. He's already a sheep. The one who has 10 vaccinations and still wears a mask, that person is a sheep. They've succumbed to something else. We are not that way. We are not meant to be ruled by oligarchs and elites. We are meant to be free people. We grew up in America where it's the land of the free. We believe that. It's in our blood. Other people, they have subjugated that to, or they not subjugated, but they've washed that from their system. And they run red with the communism and run red with all the leftist ideologies. People like us, we want to be left alone. We want to live our lives free of interference from some unseen group of narcissist pedophiles hiding off in the woods wearing goat heads and worshiping their owl gods, burning virgins in effigy, and all that kind of crazy stuff. And all these people, they go to their drive their Range Rovers and fly their private planes to their little seances out in the woods. Then all of a sudden they pop their heads out of the woods and they say, hey, we know what's best for you. You need to eat bugs, drive this tiny little electric car, turn your AC to 80 in the summer and turn your heat to 55 in the winter, all to save this wonderful, glorious planet that I'm in the process of taking over, that I'm in the process of ruling. That doesn't compute with us. People that have some semblance of self-respect, those of us who, first off, believe in the Constitution and the freedoms that it grants. But we need strong men to fight for that. We need strong men to fight against these evil forces that are out there. And the liberal policies are infecting the younger generations. And so you strong conservative people, men and women alike, you all are the ones that have to raise the next generation that are going to protect us. You have to protect them from these evil ideologies that are ripping the masculinity away from the young men in this country. And those are my thoughts for today. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave comments below. We're on X Locals, Rumble, and YouTube, and we'll see you in the next video.